Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Swire. You can also call me the promo guy. Today, our guest is Carrie Koh, CEO of Carrie Koh Consulting LLC. Carrie was a former healthcare executive who grew her consulting and coaching business from the ground up. Her passion is serving professional women who have translate their unique talent into consulting or coaching business in finding ease, profit, and happiness. Welcome to the show, Carrie.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Would you mind to give us a quick background and how you transform yourself from healthcare into a coaching business?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was climbing the ladder in healthcare. I had no idea that I would ultimately create my own business and serve other women in this way. But sometimes life has a way of throwing you curveballs. And so as I said, I was climbing the ladder and I was pregnant with my first son, and he was born unexpectedly with a rare muscle disease. And so obviously that changed absolutely everything. And through the journey of kind of taking care of him, and unfortunately he passed away from his muscle disease, we were
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I was able to really understand, what is it that's important? What are the choices that I can make to really serve to my greatest desire, my greatest passion, and really leave a legacy? And so that's when I launched my business. And I began serving physicians and leadership and healthcare organizations in their cultural issues. And once I created success, I saw so many women struggling to translate their gifts and talents into a profitable business. And this has to be fun. This entrepreneurial journey has to be fun. And so I said, you know what? I can help. I can help them get consistent clients online and enjoy the journey. And so that pivot has been an amazing, fun journey for me to see kind of where these women start and kind of what's possible for them.
Thank you for sharing the story and your journey becoming an entrepreneur. And as you were saying, there are key elements for starting, and obviously sometimes we are forced to start a business. I certainly
Yeah.
did. We started the first business because the last company that I worked for went out of business, and I found out on the day of my honeymoon. So it's another backstory to that. But can you talk about those what those three elements are and how they can help launch and grow a business?
Yeah, absolutely. I really like to think about launching and growing a business in three parts. The first is clarity. Clarity is what converts. Clarity is what brings us all that joy that we want, that freedom that we're all seeking. And so there are specific areas that I recommend any new or even seasoned entrepreneur to really get clear on. And that's number one, what is it that you want? What are you trying to create? And then what are those mindsets, those corporate mindsets that maybe are still hidden somewhere deep down that will come up at the least opportune moment? And so we really uncover that mindset and what does that success mindset look like for each one of my clients. And then the most important piece before launching a business is understanding who you are and your identity within that business. And I call that your personal brand. It's things like, what do you stand for? What do you stand against? What do you believe in? These are the things that clients are attracted to when you show up authentically. The second piece is what I call creation. We have to understand how we're creating an offer that fits perfectly into our ideal client's journey. This isn't about doing hundreds of worksheets on who is my ideal client and all those things that entrepreneurs get stuck in. It's really looking at the client's emotional journey and where you best fit in that journey. And then it's really creating an offer that is allowing them to get the transformation that they need. And then the best part of creation is developing the sales and marketing plan that is aligned with your strengths, because this is where the fun comes in. If you can enjoy the sales and marketing and what it takes to get clients, then you are halfway there, because that piece is what aligns people to you and your energy. And then the third step is delivery. How are you delivering your content? How are you putting yourself out there in a way that's consistent, in a way that really speaks to what your ideal clients need to hear? And how are you converting them, right? This sales piece is new to a lot of us who didn't grow up in sales and hadn't sold a thing in our lives until we had our own business. So that's super, super important. So those, that clarity creation and delivery, are really important steps in growing and launching your business.
I think those are very good concept, especially with the clarity and creation. And uh, right now with COVID, there are actually more and different opportunities, I'll call it. For example, like you said, when you're a corporate, you have a lot of resources. You might have a bigger marketing budget, or maybe you have thousands of salespeople behind you. But
Yeah.
then going to an entrepreneur, a lot of times you're on your own. I want to share one quick example that I've learned. My wife has a friend who owns a boutique retail store that sell clothes,
Yeah.
right? So with COVID, it's not able to open. She's able to pivot, like you said, how she could relate to her audience. It's she's actually jump onto Facebook Live, and then she's actually showing all the clothes that you can do, and you're kind of doing modeling, do like a live experience, and then people actually bought clothes from her. Now she's doing actually more business than what she has with her retail store. It just got her thinking that, does it make sense to own the retail space and pay rent and the overhead, or they could do the format that the audience are looking for, which is the live experience, and then kind of like a QVC, but then it's more unique and focused, and so there are opportunities out there, despite the difficult times or struggling that we face.
Totally. And what you're describing is really a client attraction strategy, right? Like, we are our business and we need to show up in a way that attracts people. Excuse me. So doing things like Facebook Lives and excuse me, letting people see you, that is what attracts people to you. So that's an awesome example of how to pivot using your strengths and showing up, letting people see who you are.
I know that you like to coach women for their journey. uh, I gave one example how to take the leap in the entrepreneur world, but
Mhm.
as we know, it's scary. You might be work for a company who are doing what you do, or how would you coach them to be ready to take the leap into the entrepreneur world?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm not sure anyone's 100% ready, right? Because it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So my biggest advice is, if you want to do it, start now. And where you start is really getting clear. You can do that in the safety and security of your 9 to 5. You can do a lot of this work really on your own time. And one of the things I remind people is, you are not behind. This is your timeline. This is your legacy you're building. If you want to stay in your 9 to 5 and make sure that you have proof of concept and can replace your revenue before you want to leave, that's great. Do it your way. So I think that just taking action before you're ready is important. I think understanding that you are your greatest client attraction strategy. And so, how do you want to show up? How do you want to serve? And then just understanding the power of service and connection, and speaking your customer's language, and really understanding how best you can insert yourself into their emotional journey.
How would you answer this question? So obviously, we all know that we need to do research for our market, to go, start a business. But then, as we do our research, sometimes you'll find a lot of information that kind of discourage you to start a business, because obviously with any business, there are competition out there, and obviously there are someone who are bigger out there. So I think a lot of people end up didn't start their own businesses because they do too much research and find out that it's not in favor to what they do. But obviously, when you never tried it, then you can never really improve and really work on the business. So how would you coach them through this mentality? Like, it's not for me, it's scary. Maybe this is not right for me.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're describing is compare and despair, right? You think you want to do something and then you look on the internet and you see everyone who's doing it their way and doing it better because you haven't even started, right? And here's what I want people to know is that if you want to start your own business, you can do that. There are ways that you can put yourself out there that are safe, that are staying in your lane. One of the things that I remind people is nobody does it like you. You have unique experiences, you have unique training, you have unique perspective that nobody else has. And that in and of itself is amazing. And the fact that people are paying to get to solve a problem that you solve, that's the good news. Because people are looking for a solution. If you want to do something and you look up the internet and it's like a ghost town and nobody's talking about it and nobody's doing anything about it, that's maybe not a good thing, right? Maybe it's a problem that people don't care that much about or isn't that urgent for them to solve. So really reframing how you see that competition, how you can aspire to be a part of this community, even invest in some of those people who are doing the same thing. I think it's a big disservice when we limit kind of our viewpoint and we allow the actions and the services of others to define what's possible for us. Only we can do that.
Mhm. I've actually found out a phenomenon right now. I've talked to a business formation attorney and an accountant. They actually told me that the number of people started a new business in 2020 is actually a lot more than normal because unfortunately we got laid off or a business went out of business. People actually jumping on their side gig, their side hustle. Now it becomes their main business. So let's say we move past that first part. We are in business right now. Obviously we have a lot of ideas in marketing and sales and creating a product. A lot of time when you first started, it's kind of discouraging. You're not getting the results that you hope for, right? You're hoping for more client, flood my inbox and people calling every day. What if initially they couldn't get the result that they want? How would you suggest that they look at the business and to improve it to be better?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question because I think we always need to be auditing our business. And when I talk with an entrepreneur who's stuck, who's not getting that consistent revenue and who's just overwhelmed, we really walk through who are you serving? What's your messaging look like? Because so often people don't want to, upset anyone. They don't want to exclude anyone because they can help everyone, right? Everyone, so many people have the same problem. The problem is when you talk to everyone, you talk to no one, right?
Mhm.
That famous quote that everyone uses, but it's so true. The minute we get so clear on our messaging is the minute we start to attract. This is about attracting our ideal client. You do that through messaging, you do that through that clarity. It's also about not confusing our ideal client. So many times I see people with multiple offers and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this one-on-one coaching. Wait, nobody's buying. I'm going to do a group program. Maybe I'll do a VIP day. It's like, wait, what do you do and who do you serve? And so often when we're jumping from offer to offer or strategy to strategy, we're confusing people. So I really want people to pay attention to their messaging. Are they so crystal clear that they know exactly who they're attracting and most importantly, who they're repelling? Because it's just as important to be clear about who you don't serve, what thing you don't do, right? And then is your offer clear? Do you have one offer? And then if both of those things are on point, then we look at your sales and marketing. Are you having a lot of people coming into your funnel? But they're not taking you up on your invitation, whether that's your strategy call or your sales call or your freebie. So then we need to look at your messaging around your opt-in or if what you're offering is something people actually want. If you have people coming in the door and you're not converting them, well, that tells me we really need to look at your mindset around sales, look at your processes, your systems, and really kind of take an audit there. So it's really looking at step by step, what are those key pieces of your business that potentially we could be losing people or not even attracting people into your business.
Yeah, I like that. You don't want everyone to be your client. So,
Yeah.
it's similar to what we do, when people, trying to market the business, you can't market to everyone. There's people with huge budget, they still don't market to everyone. So, like you said, by finding out who really are your ideal client, you want to know as much as you can about them. What are if it is age, if it is gender, or if it is income level, or how they consume the content, and then how they intend to use your product. The more you know about who they are, the better you could, relay your message to them, because that different age group, different people like to consume the content differently, or maybe they're on Facebook, or maybe they like phone call, they like text. So the more that you can find out about your ideal client, it will help you to determine what strategies that you need to use at the end.
Yes, and we have a little visitor. And too, this is Oliver. He doesn't have school today. Is real life, right? Like this is when we talk about our customer's journey, to your point, Swire, it's like, what is going on with them? Like we show up looking all, like professional and proper, and we're shooing our kids out the door. We're like, do not walk in here. And so it's like, how do we show up and serve them where they are, knowing, and so many of my clients have a baby on their hip, or they're in this transition of life. Yes, they're in this transition of life. We have to understand where they are and meet them where they are. And I see a lot of people kind of skipping over that beginner mindset. And that's a problem too, right? Because we assume people know what they don't know, and then we're not hitting the mark.
Yeah, I think one of the best way that I would suggest, for people who are listening, is to observe. Find out that, the product and services that you might have, who respond better. It takes trial and error, obviously, but then really find out where the ideal clients are, and then you want to position yourself in front of them. For example, going back to Facebook again, my wife belongs to a mommy group. All the wives are talking about different things that are available, and obviously there are people who are professional out there who are product and services, so they don't really sell on there, but then they just talk casually about things that mom talks about, and then but then they build the trust. So whenever they need someone with a realtor, or maybe they need someone who cooks well and buy recipes, so they have business in there. So that might be the strategy. So look for the unobvious, I would call it. If it's really saturated, then you throw yourself under. Might not be the obvious, but then if you identify, a category that your client is there, especially if you can build your audience in a group, in a community, and help them be participate, and share. Maybe if you have a recipe, or maybe you have a training methodology for your fitness product. So if you're able to create a community, have people actually engage with each other and talk about your product and services, that will actually be a way better strategies than you trying to connect everyone and try to interrupt them and tell them your offers.
Totally. And that's what client attraction is all about. It's about connecting authentically, having conversations that really you care about this human, right? Like, do you want people in your business that you don't care about? Honey, can you go find dad, please? Thank you. So I think that so many people, one second. I think that so many people believe that you need these big, massive strategies to be successful, and you don't. You need to be human. You need to be authentic. You need to really care about the people you want to serve, so much so that you're not just like dropping links in their DMs uninvited, right? You're not doing these cold reach outs that don't work or don't feel good, really. It's like you're building that connection. And as you said, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, that's an amazing strategy to build a community around like-minded people who want the same result.
But I think sometimes people don't do that is because they're afraid that they're missing out. They're going back to the everyone mentality. So by having a Facebook group is more close than if you, let's say, to market to a lot of people in your area. But then I would suggest to think about it this way. Would you rather have a smaller group of really engaging client, or you have a lot of clients that are kind of come and go, and transaction based? Like which one would you rather have? But I guess it depends on your business and who you're trying to target. And I know that you have a 90-day plan, to help professional to get a head start. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the plan is and how you can help within the 90 days?
Yeah. One of the issues that I see so many entrepreneurs struggling with is shiny object syndrome and constant distraction. And so one of the things I like to do is really reverse engineer the results that they want. And I do that through a 90-day plan. I use this when I was focusing on my healthcare business, and I transferred this into the entrepreneurial world, because if it works in the corporate world, we need to level up. We need to recognize that like you are building a proper business and have to take some of those tools that work in the corporate world and apply them to your business. And so we basically chunk down your plans. We look at those revenue producing activities that are going to move the needle, and we create a plan.
What do you mean move the needle?
We create a plan around a lifestyle, because not everybody has the same lifestyle. Not everyone is available, especially women who are, during this time when their kids are home, when they're building a business, when, it's like, how do we create a plan that works for you? Because if it doesn't work for you, then it's not going to work, right? Like we have to make sure that we personalized our approach based on your strengths, based on your desired lifestyle, and based on your current lifestyle. What's your reality?
Yeah, I think right now with technology, we actually are in a better time in terms of business than if we say like even 10 years ago. With the technology now, it's so easy for us to jump on a video call and we can interact. And now, company actually are thinking about, if you want to talking about scale, you used to need to work at an office, right? You got to have a big team meeting to do that. But now they're actually recognizing that you could be anywhere in the world, really. If you have the technology available, if you have the mentality, you can actually manage a team anywhere in the world. So it kind of opened up for a lot of companies. There are people who may not in your geographical location. That might be good for your team, or maybe there are other areas for your business and services that you can reach beyond where we are basically located. So I think technology certainly helps a lot, at this day and age.
Totally. We are so lucky to be building a business during this time. I mean, the internet is a beautiful thing. I have clients all over the world. I have team members all over the world. And it's like, how great is this when we view social media, when we view what we are trying to do from the standpoint of like, how easy has this world become for us? So many times people see social media and think, oh God, I hate being on Facebook, or I just, I don't want, it's a waste of time. It's like, okay, well, you could also go back to your 9 to 5, and that's an option. Like that's a choice. And so growing an online business means you're going to be online, not 24/7, not doing it in an unstrategic way, but it does require some enjoyment. That's why I teach my people how to build an online business while having fun. How do you not only inspire online and get inspired online? And there's a whole strategy behind that.
Yeah, I think with technology, actually, there's an advantage. When you first started out, obviously, uh, imagine you trying to invite 100 guests, to listen to your presentation or your pitch, right? Before the pandemic, you probably have to rent some kind of hotel room. You got to have the AV set up. Maybe you got to, plan for it. So that's a big expense. But right now, if your presentation is good, you could have 100 people in a Zoom meeting, which costs you close to nothing, your time. But then the chances of attracting people are different. Now, we a small business can actually stand to compete with the big guys because we could still bring 100 people into a Zoom meeting, into a webinar, and then it just relied on you if you have really the skills and then the product and services to back it up. And the cost for doing business is much less compared to maybe even 5 years ago.
Totally, totally. We are at such an advantage in this day and age that, and going back to what you were saying about groups and Facebook communities, and it's like you have this ideal audience right there wanting you to help them with their problem. And so that doesn't get much better than that, right? It doesn't get, number one, more fulfilling than that when you can help people and you know exactly where they are and exactly how to help them. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I've talked to clients that they say, "Oh, we have a niche business," or they even tell me what we're doing is kind of weird. No one will want that. But if you open up to a bigger demographic, or if you open even to the world, you can be the weirdest person in the world. People are actually dying to meet you. There are phenomena like that. Like there are strange things that we just drawn to, and there are actually a following for people who are unique and sometimes strange in their own way. So don't think bigger. I would encourage them to do.
Totally. I mean, we have to be authentic and we have to be us. Otherwise, we are the cookie cutter solutions that they can get it anywhere. And so if we don't show up as who we authentically are, we're missing huge opportunities. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting to hide that.
Yeah, let's talk about authentic connection. Like, what are they? We kind of dip into it a little bit, but for a business, who are thinking about transition or in business, how would they find the authentic connections?
Yeah. Well, quite simply, it's being authentically you, right? And I think it's not showing up in this veil of perfection, not showing up like, quite frankly, we had to show up in our 9 to 5s under this, corporate culture. We had to fit in. That was just part of our job. And now it's like you get to create your own culture and you get to do it based on your strengths and who you really are, and trust that you are good enough. Trust that you will attract the people who are attracted to you and what you stand for, what you stand against, what you believe in. And so much of these authentic connections are just kind of letting down your guard a little bit and telling the truth. And I pride myself in being very truthful on the good and the bad and the ugly in an entrepreneurial journey. In fact, I did a free 3-day training in my Facebook group last week. And I had on day 3, I was in the middle of a pitch and I had this major faux pas, like embarrassing, this thing that came out of my mouth. I should never try to do metaphors. I'm never good at them. So I totally screwed it up. I will not say it what I said in this company, but it was embarrassing. My face went bright red. I couldn't stop laughing. I was in the middle of this pitch and it was amazing. The response I get, the people who were laughing with me, the people who like messaged me and were like, thank you for just being you. Like, we all screw up. Like, we don't have to be this perfect person, and we can acknowledge when we screw up and like, well, that was kind of funny, right? It actually added a little bit of joy. So I think showing up authentically is automatically going to create authentic connections. And it is about doing the work to really serve your people at that level. It is not about the easy way out. It's like those cold link drops, those there's just a lot of tactics that don't generate authentic connections, and therefore that their conversion rate is not as high. Nothing's wrong. Everybody can build their business their own way. But in my experience, it's those authentic connections that create clients.
How would you suggest people to develop them? Because, it's like you said, it's kind of scary. We are trained in the corporate world that, when you talk, you're supposed to have like a corporate tone, to give
Yeah.
a quick example, but then that might not be who we are, but then to find the community that we can connect with, it takes time. So how would you suggest, an entrepreneur find their own voice? Or, it's kind of scary, it's me being me. I don't want to really put my, real true self out there. So I think that's the, common, concern that people have is, if I show who I really are, am I giving it away, or do people not going to like me? I think that's another thing that people don't want to. They want to pretend to be, what people have in mind of a business person.
Totally. 100%. And I think that fear of not being liked holds so many people back. And, it's really about how we frame that. How important is that to us that we're liked by everyone? Because most people don't pay attention to what we're doing. Like, that is the FYI I give people, is like, you really don't have that much to lose, because most people aren't paying attention. If most people were paying attention, people would grow businesses a lot faster. And those people that are the haters, I mean, you can choose to ignore them, or you can choose to interact with them. And that exchange of energy is not going to serve you. And so I think that showing up authentically, it takes practice. It took me a long time to really show up as like, literally having my son here, the first year of my business, I would have been mortified. And now I'm like, well, it's real life, people, right? He's home for school today. I don't know where daddy is. Like, it's like, this is how we need to practice it. And we need to, that personal branding piece that I talked about, I spend a lot of time with my clients on that, because we have to internalize, what do we believe? Like, outside of the corporate thing, outside of like all of our influences, outside of what our spouses believe, and like, what do we believe? What do we want? We are trained to really, want what everyone else is expecting that we should have. And it's like, well, wait a minute. So it takes some time. It takes some introspective. It helps to have someone kind of ask the right questions of you to help you get to that point. And it takes just putting yourself out there and seeing that, like, it is not a life or death situation. The sky didn't fall. Like, it's fine. The worst thing that can happen is maybe you get some crickets on a post, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think, do try, especially if you are younger, right? So I'm glad that, I was able to experience and made a lot of mistakes. So, you can kind of find out, your authentic voice. Would you rather be this person or that person, or this actually worked with me a lot? That's will be my style. And then once you find your voice and your style, stick with that. That's who you are. Like you said, not everyone can be your client, but then people who choose to do business with you, maybe they really like you. They really like what your messages or mission are standing for. I can name a lot of brands that are charging more, but then I really like the brand, and I decided to stick with them because I like the story, like how I'm able to interact with people in there, and not sort of switching anytime.
Totally. And that's where people are, pretty freaked out about, am I pricing this appropriate? It's not about price. It is about the service. It's about that connection. It's about, are you getting the people the transformation that they want? And how are you doing that? By being you, by using your gifts and talents that no one else has.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carrie, for coming on today. If the listener wanted to get in touch with you to find out more about how you can help them, what would be the best way to reach out?
Yeah, well, I would love to welcome any of you female entrepreneurs into my Facebook group called Profitable Happy Female Entrepreneurs, or you can always reach me on my LinkedIn, or message me in Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm open.
Thank you, Carrie. I'll definitely put all the links in the show notes so people can reach out to you. Thank you so much for the motivational speech, and you're a true pro. You haven't skipped a bit.
Thank you. You didn't see my hand motions behind the scenes there.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.